We're going to take a look at some more examples. There's two main things I want to point out about this example. The first one is you've got x squared times the square root of 1 minus x squared. So that means we're going to need to use the product rule because we've got x squared times the square root. But because we've got a square root of 1 minus x squared, we're also going to need the chain rule in this example. So it puts both of the rules together. The other thing that I want to talk about is how you want to express your answers. So there's a difference between what WebAssign will accept. WebAssign is pretty generous when it comes to expressing your answers, and good habits that you want to develop to bring you into the next chapter. Because when we get into the next chapter, we're going to be doing things with the derivatives and we're going to need them in a more simplified form. So we'll walk you through about how far you would want to go in general. So first of all, the product rule is kind of the bigger picture because the outermost thing we have going on is that we have a function x squared times a function the square root of 1 minus x squared. So for the product rule, I'm going to let f be equal to x squared, and I'm going to let g be equal to the square root of 1 minus x squared. So I know that if this is equal to the derivative with respect to x of f times g, then we know that that's going to be fg prime plus gf prime. So f prime is easy, that's 2x. Let's talk about g prime. So we're going to write that square root of 1 minus x squared as the square root of u, or u to the 1/2, where u is equal to 1 minus x squared. So using the chain rule for g, that would be 1/2 times u to the negative 1/2 times u prime, or u prime over 2 square root of u. So my u prime here is negative 2x. So this is going to be negative 2x over 2 square root of 1 minus x squared, or when you simplify, negative x over the square root of 1 minus x squared. So I have to use that when I go plug into the product rule. So my product rule, I'm going to take f, which is x squared, times g prime, which we found to be negative x over the square root of 1 minus x squared, plus g, which is the square root of 1 minus x squared, times f prime, which is 2x. So simplifying that a little bit, I get negative x cubed over the square root of 1 minus x squared, plus 2x times the square root of 1 minus x squared. Now at this point, if you entered this answer into WebAssign, you would get full credit for it. If you put this answer on a test, you would get full credit for it. There's nothing wrong with that. However, once you get into chapter 3, like I said, you're going to want to be able to do things with a simplified version of the derivative. So if we wanted to find a common denominator here, we could see that this denominator is the square root of 1 minus x squared. So if I multiply this by the square root of 1 minus x squared divided by the square root of 1 minus x squared, to find that common denominator, I'm going to end up with negative x cubed plus 2x. Now when I multiply this square root by this square root, I just get 1 minus x squared. And that's all over the square root of 1 minus x squared. And when I distribute and simplify across the top, I get negative 3x cubed plus 2x divided by the square root of 1 minus x squared. And I know that that's not rationalized, but we're going to leave it like that. This is honestly the best place to leave your answer for this problem. In this problem, we're also going to have multiple rules being used, but again, you want to look at what's the most outer big picture thing here. And the outermost picture here is that we've got something being squared. So, and that something happens to be a quotient. So what this one is going to use is we're going to have the quotient rule, but it's going to be within a chain rule. So the outermost substitution you would make here is that this is equal to the derivative with respect to x of u squared. So we know that that's going to be 2u to the first power times u prime, and we need to figure out what u prime is. So u is 2x plus 5 divided by x squared plus 1. So we know that we're going to need u prime to be low d high minus high d low over low low. So f here would be 2x plus 5, g would be x squared plus 1. So f prime is 2 and g prime is 2x. So this is going to be x squared plus 1 times 2 minus 2x plus 5 times 2x, all divided by x squared plus 1 squared, So that's 2x squared plus 2 minus 4x squared minus 10x, all divided by x squared plus 1 squared, which is negative 2x squared minus 10x plus 2, all over x squared plus 1 squared. So when I come back over here, I'm going to have, let's see, 2 times u, which was 2x plus 5 over x squared plus 1, times negative 2x squared minus 10x plus 2 divided by x squared plus 1 squared. And you can FOIL all of that out. You don't have to. In this case, I'm actually going to leave it like this. I'm just going to combine the denominator. And yes, you could factor a negative out of this one and bring it out front as well. There are multiple places where you could leave an answer, and it's really just a matter of opinion which version is the right place to leave it in. I'm pretty lenient on that as long as the answer is correct and as long as you took care of the basic stuff like combining the x squared plus 1 and the x squared plus 1 squared. That's easy.